Kolleen Park is the first director in Korea to specialize in musicals. Her passion and enthusiasm for challenges are already legendary. In addition to directing and performing on stage, Park is active on television and in lecture halls. Once again, Park has embraced a new challenge and achieved something unexpected. As the director of Mr. Show, Korea's first and only adult show for women, Park is causing another sensation. Mr. Show is an adult show with 9 male performers who dance and act, structured around 8 different themes. As the first of its kind, the show has caused some critics to voice concerns about the line between art and pornography. But Park's convictions remain firm. Kolleen Park is always looking for new challenges. She will continue to challenge herself and us for a long time. Welcome back to Heart. It's been about a year since we had you last,
I think so. It's nice to be back. You look so nice and springtime.
Thank you, and you look great as always too. And you were busy then. I think you're even busier now, if that were possible. But you were busy then because you were directing and performing in Next to Normal, right? And I know, everyone knows that it was a huge success. But tell us, how did it feel to be on the stage again as a performer?
Well,
how was it?
I said back then as well, that show was such a great show and it impacted me so much. I loved performing. It was such a grueling show. I had many costume changes. I was never off the stage. It was quick changes. I had to put on stockings in 10 seconds, that kind of thing. But it was, I look back on it now and I kind of want to do it just once more. Yeah. If we could do it once more, it would be really great. I loved that energy of just spending every ounce of energy for something. It just makes you feel really good.
And if you had to do it again, is there anything you'd do differently? Or?
Well, I think, trying to approach the character and act better and sing better and perform better, but just that role and the amount of exertion that you had to put into, I think that's what I liked about it, that challenge.
And I also imagine that being on stage is just a completely different experience from what you're usually doing behind the stage. I mean, I know that this role itself was special for you too, but maybe another another production, another character, would you be interested in going on stage again?
I think so. I always had an inkling for Sunset Boulevard, the musical Sunset Boulevard. Then, she was another crazy woman, right? I think I'm drawn toward these complex characters. Yeah. And Sunset Boulevard was something I always kind of wanted to do in case it ever came to Korea, but it hasn't come, so I can't audition.
Then, of course, now you're in the news quite a lot because of another show that you're not appearing in, because it's Mr. Show, and it's an adult show targeted for female audiences only, of course. I know it hasn't been a long time since it's been on stage, but what's the reaction? We've seen some of the reactions on media. But
you know what we thought we would do one day is we would just record the audience. I mean, all you have to do is just hear it. Yeah. Well, because they're just screaming from the beginning to the end in a good way. I wanted to make. I wanted to do this kind of a show since 10, 12 years ago, and I had a semi-script ready. But no one in Korea wanted to create something like this. There was only one younger gentleman who was doing Miss Saigon and Les Mis, the producer for that, who sort of hummed and hawed and said, very careful. You can't ask, do you want to do a sexy show? So you have to be very careful how you ask it. But I said, I have a script. I already have a script. But the reaction of the women was pretty incredible. I kind of expected it because we had a little inkling from a previous little event thing that I had done. And I thought, oh my God, if they react to this gene dance that I do this way, we can do an entire show doing this kind of stuff. But the women's staff people, the creative team, even the hair and makeup team and the costume team, they're all women, right? They did not expect that the Korean women would react like this. And I thought, really? You didn't expect this? Why not?
You were confident about their reaction.
Well, Because I sort of tasted a little bit of it, but I really don't ever care about the audience, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I can't care about their reaction. I have to just focus on what I'm making and be true to what I'm making, and then the rest of it is completely up to them, and it's their right and their jurisdiction. I can't have any control over that, so I can't focus too much on how they're going to react.
So who's coming to see it? Is it teenagers? I guess not teenagers.
Not
it's
teenagers.
An adult show. So
from college, from
students?
university on mid-20s to we've even had 60.
Wow.
So it's between 20 and early 50s. We have a wide range, and they all react differently, but they all have fun. There was a funny view. I was in the console watching, and I like to watch the audience react. And I think it was a mother and daughter. Wow. So the mother was like 60 years old, and I think the daughter was like maybe 35 or something. And there's, some scenes where they take off their shirt, and I could see the daughter covering the eyes of the mother. And the mother was like not looking, and she was just clapping. It was so funny.
That's amazing. But I mean, is it really that risque?
No.
I mean, you say just taking off shirts. I mean, this is a new concept. So when you said you saw a hint of the reaction from doing a jean dance or jean event.
I had always wanted to do this hip dance because, one of the beautiful parts of the body is the rear end.
Right.
And there was a Levi's new line of underwear and lingerie and jeans, and they wanted me to create something for the event. So I made these buffy looking 30 of them, these guys, just do and you never see their front, you just see their back, and they kind of hip
like a
dance, comes
dance.
all down, and then they do a very manly kind of a dance thing, and then they, rip off their pants, and then you get to see the new
underwear.
Levi's wear and the body wear. And the women just went wild over that. And the Levi's, I remember the head of Levi's, who was a woman, the CEO, said, "Thank you." So I thought, I had always wanted to do the hip dance from long ago. It was from my interest in contemporary dance that I've always had. But I didn't expect to be in a sexy show. But it is sexy. It's quite sexy. It is for adults. But it's not lewd, and it's not crass, and it's not cheap, shall I say? And it's not where we've had audience post, questions, say, "Do we have to take tips?" I said, "No, you don't. There's no money exchange. It's not
1,001 bills.
I know, it's not a bar. It's a show. It's a performance, and these are performers. And can I use a credit card?" And they're like, no, don't bring any cash. But we do have we do have lap dances, but it's done in a very humorous way and very fun. It's just a lot of fun is all I can say. Very clean, healthy fun. But you do get to see some very, very good-looking guys who are, ripping off their pants, and you see some gorgeous underwear, and then you see, in the flash of a light, you might see them take off their underwear, but then you don't see anything. It's all left to your imagination. That kind of, humorous fun.
Okay, but you said there's a script, so there's actually talking involved?
No talking, no singing, nothing. It's just a
dancing.
movement show. Well, it's a strut show. Guys strutting. It's like peacocks, flared, and they're strutting for the women. But what the script was that I wanted to do these several different dances. I could, how we have like a romance about what the guys wear, like.
Uniforms?
Uniform. Oh, okay. Now I know what you like. Uniforms and like school uniforms, police
officers,
all of those things. So I chose all the different costumes that women fantasize about, and those were the stories that came along with it. And so that's what I mean by like a script.
And are men allowed to come in and watch the show as well?
No, absolutely not.
Why not? You say it's not that sexy. I mean, it's sexy, but...
But Korean women can't react freely with a man around, I've realized. So I've put them into a safe environment where they can scream and shout and get up and dance if they want. And, you know, we have like this cocktail kind of a scene where we create our own cocktails and we serve it to some of the audience. And they have to put a chip into the pocket of our dancers. So it's that kind of thing, you know, just getting close but not touching. But you know, you're not free to do that. Korean women are very aware when their man is around, and they don't have the freedom. And so I think that's why we're getting the reaction that we do. And we've realized that the audience have said, it's so great there are no men in the audience, and we can feel free.
Because I mean, this sort of entertainment, or actually any sort of adult entertainment, in the best sense of the word, I mean, really wasn't there for women.
No.
I think, especially if you're past a certain age where you can go to clubs and discotheques, like someone of like my age in their early 40s or even late 30s. It's very difficult to find somewhere to just kind of go and let your hair hang loose and just have a great time, unless it's a concert maybe. So did you see sort of a gap or a hole in the sort of the system or an entertainment?
Well, as an afterthought, I think that theory might play into it. But actually, I moved from completely the opposite end. It wasn't what the audience wanted.
Right.
I just could not, I didn't like the fact that, I'm Korean also, right? That the Korean women had to hide their feelings. And they had to pretend to be shy, or they had to pretend to not know and to be naive. And I hated that because we know they're not, otherwise there would be no population, right? I mean, there's a reason for why there's a abundance of people in Korea. So I just wanted to sort of egg on or nudge the fact that, hey, just be true to your feelings and have fun, but as long as it's clean fun and you're not, carousing around the entire country and being whatever, but I wanted to put on a performance where they could just come and enjoy, have fun, and not be embarrassed to talk about it, and not be embarrassed to tell their husbands and say, I really had a good time. And the whole idea was just a girls' night out. That's all I wanted, a girls' night out, just for them to feel safe, have fun, and still be able to talk about it really in a fun way to their boyfriends and their husbands.
I mean, you mentioned it, that, Korean women aren't that naive as we would sometimes hope we appear to be. And there are certain forms of entertainment that women will go to if they have the money to do that. And it's very similar to what I think the men have, this sort of business entertainment system going on. But I think maybe putting it in a sort of more underground manner, or something that can't be talked about openly, has led to preconceptions that it could be actually more sort of risque than it is. Did you also, were you mindful of that at all? There's this sort of double standard when it comes to men having their entertainment under the concept of business and women not having that.
I find that we're trying to choose our words very carefully,
it's
right?
It's a morning show, yeah.
I know. But I love talking about this. But I did have one of the most big difficulties that we had was how to balance how far to go and how far not to go. And I think we struggled for it. The choreographer and I, we went through that for about 3 months. I went through 2 other choreographers before reaching this choreographer. And one day, I said, no, I need it a little bit stronger because this is for adults and it needs to be fun. And he went too far, and I went, oh, no, we don't want, bar, strip club scenes. We want it to be clean, but allude to the fact that. So we went back and forth many times before we reached that right, concoction of how we take off everything, and we do not wear G-strings or anything, but you barely see it in a flash of a moment, and it's done tastefully and comically, and sometimes we hide them behind these shower doors, and they're close to it so you can see it, but you can't, but it's the lighting, and it's all done in a way that's kind of just nice, and that you feel safe, that the women feel safe.
So you mentioned that the choreography was very difficult to strike the right note. another very difficult task, I would imagine, is selecting the dancers or the performers themselves. It must have been such a difficult process for you, Kolleen.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, seeing all these guys, walking around, half naked, so difficult.
Yeah.
But, well, I think because this kind of a show had never been done in Korea, that it was under the category of musicals, and it's not a musical. But if you go into like the ticket sites, there's no category for this kind of a show. Right. They can't say adult show, and they can't say concert or theater. It's just
or dance
show, not even dance. It's just in such a different category that they had to just force it under the musical category, nonverbal. Well, a lot of people didn't know what it was about. They knew Kolleen was doing something, and she's usually doing musicals. So we had some musical people come by for the audition, and then we had all kinds of different people, but we didn't get that many. Maybe we had 50 only. Now we're getting in a pour of people who are now know what the show is about, and I want to audition for it, and I want to be the peacock in front of women and feel, like a man here. But we chose 9 out of those 50 for the first run. But yes, it was difficult, and I can see the pictures, but they look so different from what they do now, because they came in, some looked really good, but they had the wrong haircut, and we sent them to tanning, to, waxing, and body fitness, and haircuts, and so we put them through the ringer.
But what were you exactly looking for? Is it just the physical qualities? Is it the way they move or their presence on stage? I mean, what were you looking for?
Exactly those three things. The first thing was, well, it had to be the body type. And I how in Korea we have all the teen idols, and they look very pretty, and they're very baby-looking and boyish, or girlish, in fact. But I didn't want that. I wanted men. I wanted them to be older, for the older audience. They're not too young. And then if you have like a whole slew of these women screaming at you, I needed mature guys to be able to handle all that and not be shy about their body. So we chose first a great body type, different body types, so that they're all different. Women have different tastes, different looks, and different attitude. And then I think that lastly, if they could at least carry a beat and move. It's not a dance show, it's more movement. So body was the first thing. I have never seen so many naked bodies in front of my eyes at an audition in my life.
Must have been terrible, yeah.
Terrible.
But we were just talking with one of our staff members, and she was saying that she heard someone, women's types are so different. She was talking about one girl who actually likes a pot-bellied man, a man with a bit of a tummy, because, it makes her feel secure, like a teddy bear. She's got something to grab onto. But you don't have any teddy bear shaped guys. They're all
teddy bears.
Quite ripped, no?
Yeah, they're all, oh my God, they have like not over 6 packs, 8 packs. And we do have like younger to older, macho to kind of what we call the baby. He's the more pretty looking. We've got a very smiley guy who feels like a teddy bear. So we have different attitudes, and I think one of the a lot of the comments that we had gotten from the women were, "That one's for me," and the other one would say, "No, that one's for me." So there was someone for everyone, and they went back saying, "He was looking at me. He was looking at me."
But what kind of training did they have to go to? You said that you sent them to the tanning salons, but I also imagine the physical training must have been quite grueling.
They go every day.
Someone said it's actually quite Spartan, as in like they go through the same training that the actors did for the movie 300.
Yep.
Was that bad?
They look like 300. It's just that the Korean body type doesn't look as bulky. And thank God the Korean women don't like the real bulk. They like the slim and slender kind of ripped bodies. But we have a couple trainers that are part of the cast. They came as trainers, so we use them doubly. So it's like train the rest of the guys. They go every day to the health center and work out. Each individually work out. They come to the theater, and in between they'll, pump up. And oh my God, their food.
Do you ever cook them anything?
No,
we know that you're
I
a good
can't
cook.
because I'm a good cook, but they can't eat anything I cook. I'm a baker, right? So they can't eat any of the baked goods.
Yeah.
They are on a strict diet, and the trainer will go, someone will bring like some ice cream or something and say, You can eat it, you can't,
Oh,
you
no.
can't, and you can eat it. And they eat chicken breast and salad rice every day. I feel bad for them, but they are getting loved on stage.
I'm sure. Well, the fact that Mr. Show is a show exclusively for women has invited a bit of controversy, but in fact it's a very healthy depiction of female desire. Let's take a look.
As a director, I have never heard so many "thank you, director, for making this show." So that was very, very nice surprise. I did have one comment that says, "Kolleen Park for Nobel Prize."
So we're now going to delve deeper into this idea of healthy desire that Mr. Show inspires. Kolleen, once you're labeled or your show is labeled an adult show, I think it creates a lot of hullabaloo about how much nudity or what's revealed exactly on stage. And some of the audience members were saying that they didn't actually expect to see so much skin on stage. What are your ideas on, or what is your sort of thoughts on how much nudity should be shown on stage?
Well, I think the different genres can have all their own style. You know, like a strip club should be stripping.
Right.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be a strip club. This is what I keep using the word safe, and my biggest goal, I think, was to keep my boys safe. And I wanted them to feel safe. I wanted them to feel like they weren't being productized and being sold. And they were concerned about how much that they had to take off, but they knew that with the lighting that nothing would be seen. It's like happens in a flash and it's over and it goes on to the next scene, or they're hidden safe behind frosted glass. So I think my goal was that they needed to feel safe, not the audience. But I think my boys feel safe now. I call them my boys because, you know, they're my boys. But my boys feel safe, and they know that we are very protective of them, and that when we get in a very rowdy audience, I have my MCs control them so that they don't get too rowdy. I go to the theater all the time to just check on what the level of reactions are. And I know that some audience, because they thought that I would be doing a musical, that they would come and they see a show with some nudity, that they get a little bit taken aback. So we'll always get that. We'll always get this side that says a little bit too much nudity, and most are saying there isn't enough. But I didn't want a nude show. I wanted a girls' night out where they could fantasize about these different kinds of good-looking guys. And I think the wall that we have, where we are a performing group, not in a bar, not in a host bar, not in a salon, not in a any other strip club or anything. We're separated. We ask the audience not to touch our boys unless our boys take your hands, invite them. So we have strict guidelines for our boys as well. If like they're doing a lap dance and the girls get too rowdy, it's to take their hands and tell them, keep it here so that I can perform. Thank you. We've come through all our what we call the 10 Commandments to keep the show safe and fun. I think that's where I draw how much nudity or how I show the nudity. It's like there's one scene where two guys, walking in New York in the middle of the night on a cold winter's night, and they just happen to, hit shoulders as they're passing. But women, they just say, "Oh, sorry, excuse me," they go, right? But sometimes guys end up fighting because of that, because, who's more macho? Well, as they keep fighting, they keep getting hot, so they take off their clothes. And eventually, they take off all their clothes and they're just in their underwear, these very, very cute-looking poo and piglet underwears. So that's how we flip the comedy and for the reasons for taking off our clothes. So I don't know. It's up to the audience to decide how much they feel is too much.
Have you had to sort of step in? Have the bouncers have to step in, or your staff, or did you have to maybe make changes in the choreography because the audience was getting too rowdy?
Not the choreography, but I did have our MCs step up to controlling the crowd a little better. But most nights, it's been fantastic. I mean, just roaring crowds who are just so into having fun, and they all come out, and the one word they do use is, "It was so much fun." It wasn't like it was too nudie or it was sexy, or it was just, it was so much fun. And as a director, I have never heard so many "thank you, director, for making this show." So that was a very, very nice surprise. I did have one comment says, "Kolleen Park for Nobel Prize." I don't know if that's Nobel Peace Prize or Nobel what prize, but anyway. So it was, thank you for creating a show like this. I thought that was pretty fun. There was only one night where the women got a little bit too rowdy and the MCs had to step in, yeah.
Right. And you mentioned that you actually had the idea for this more than 10 years ago. I wonder if it was inspired by Chippendales. I don't know if that's quite offensive to you,
No.
because the Chippendales is kind of what comes to mind first of all when
Yes.
we think of an adult show for women, and it's been on since 1979. I heard.
Oh my God, it's been on forever.
And it's still in Las Vegas, but also tours around the world, of course. And so, was that sort of the inspiration for you?
I think the inspiration didn't come from Chippendales. I think the inspiration actually came from some contemporary dance I saw like 12 years ago. I think they were from Netherlands. And I saw these two guys just walking backwards, and that was all they were doing on a cold winter's night. Just these naked bodies. That's all they did. They looked once and they disappeared. Contemporary dance is can be very mental,
Deep,
right?
yes,
Very deep. And I thought, oh my God, what an idea that they never look back. They never look at the audience, but I just love the whole idea of these rear ends, and I could see a whole dance coming from it. And in fact, the dance I just told you about with the two guys fighting and the hip dance, they both stem from this one contemporary dance that I saw. And I thought, yeah, they have a reason to take off their clothes on a cold winter's night, and I can vision, white T-shirts and blue jeans, which is like the James Dean romance of our world, right? So I pictured these things. Then I thought, I wonder if Korea is ready for this. So then I sketched out like some other, the je복, the uniform scenes, and what Korean women like. What is their romance about these fantasies about clothes, about the men. So I'd sketched all that out. Then we went to research, because I'd never seen Chippendales. I only saw Chippendales a year ago, I think, just to see what was available and what the male review shows were happening. And I thought, oh no, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to do that. I can guarantee, well, seeing Chippendales and Thunder Down Under, all these other male review shows that we had checked out, all the way to Zumanity, very well-made adult Cirque du Soleil show. I didn't want artsy. I wanted organic. I wanted, guys in jeans and just in their...
Approachable.
Yeah, approachable, just friendly people that you could see every day, and not so lewd as Chippendales. Chippendales has its own genre, and I respect that, but wasn't right for Korea, and it wasn't right for me, and it wasn't right for my boys. And so I knew that we would use some format of that, and I had already sketched out 8 dances, but I guarantee our set is beautiful, and our lighting is great, and our choreography, I mean, we really worked hard to, it's not dance, it's not fancy dance, it's just movement just right to show off, and at the right time ripping off your t-shirt, and just the right time everyone looking to one woman and looking to another woman, all of them moving together in suits, great looking suits, that kind of thing. So we have great costumes, and I now can confidently say I don't need to be compared to Chippendales, only because they don't have sets. They don't use good music, and they don't have as great a lighting And
this is where all your experience, of course, of working behind and in front of the stage for musicals kicks in, I imagine. But what made 2014 the right time to launch this show? You had it on the back burner, or you had it, tucked away for a long time.
Yeah.
Was it a matter of When did you think, did you meet the right people who
I
were
think
willing
so.
to invest?
You know, they say timing
Yeah.
is everything. Oh man, do I believe that. It was just, I had worked with this company on Saigon, Miss Saigon, and you know, that's a huge musical proper production, and
Right.
they do concerts, and you know, Sumi Jo, and you know, all the Jung Myung-hwa, and all those kinds of concerts. But the son who took over the company, you know, very world savvy and American savvy, and I think he kind of wanted to do some new thing, but he wasn't sure who to approach, and thought, and I found out later that he could only think of me, and you know, I don't know why. I hadn't done sexy shows before, but he said I could only think of you to approach who would understand. And it was, this is how it exactly happened. He said, well, Kolleen, you know, I'd like to do kind of a male review kind of a show, and you know, I have a script. This is exactly how it happened, and that was it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, they've set hearts aflutter with their performances and their amazing bodies, of course. So let's go behind the scenes now and meet the men of Mr. Show. Eight tall and incredibly handsome men were selected as performers in Kolleen Park's Mr. Show. They include professional actors, fitness instructors, bodybuilders, and others from diverse backgrounds. All of them had to meet Park's demanding standards to make it through the auditions.
저희가 몸을 과시하는 공연이다 보니까 몸은 몸대로 만들면서 식단 조절하면서 운동하면서 오로지 여성 관객들을 위해서 춤 위주의 퍼포먼스를 합니다.
After 2 months of Kolleen Park's intense training regimen, the actors emerged as new men. This is an adult show, so there is partial nudity, but there's nothing crude or indecent about the show. Park's choreography focuses on the fun and healthy side of desire. Mr. Show is a new kind of performance that has never been seen before in Korea. Women of all ages come to enjoy the show.
되게 재밌을 것 같아요. 막 신나고.
The MC is the only person on stage who speaks. He serves as the intermediary between the audience and the actors. The show is structured on 8 themes, like blue jeans, cocktail show, warrior, and uniforms that cater to women's fantasies. The show is 17 minutes long, and the audience won't want to miss a single minute.
이 작품이 갖고 있는 컨텐츠를 그냥 그 자체를 인정하면, 그러니까 작품에 대한 어떤 다양성을 인정해 주시면 굉장히 좀 좋을 것 같고요.
Since Mr. Show opened last March, it has received polarizing reviews. But one thing's for sure. With Korea's first show exclusively for women, Kolleen Park is shaking things up for women, young and old. It seems like there's a different kind of energy that we see on stage, probably because it's an all-male cast. And it must have been quite a lot of fun working with such attractive men. So Kolleen, you've described the performers as your boys. I wonder how they perceive you. I mean, the words most associated with you usually is leadership, communication, trust. You're known as a charismatic leader in the musical world. How do the boys regard you or perceive you?
I don't know. I think I do know that because they didn't know what the show would end up being, that they were all very worried but very interested. And I think once the show went up and the first night was over, they all, first time, we never touched before. It would be like I would just poke them and say, you know, with my fingers, because I didn't want any you know, gossip or anything happening. I'd be like, I think you have a little bit of too much fat on this thing, or like, I need a little more muscles here. You know, I would be really very careful not to touch them ever. And that was during our work process, our rehearsals, then when the first show went up, and they saw the reaction of all they had done, and what it culminated to, I think they came back in and they went, "Oh my God, this is like a revolution," and they all gave me this hug that I was like just crushed, because they're such big, strong guys, right? They're all 185.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, now I know how they feel. I think now they feel safe, and now they know what I wanted to do, and now they feel okay. And I was so proud of them, and because they didn't know how to move, some first time on stage.
What are their backgrounds? You mentioned that some of them, or some
couple are trainers.
Musical? Okay, trainers.
One is comes from baseball. One comes from soccer. There are only two who are actual like musical trained or acting trained. And then I can't remember. It's so various. They don't come from this world. Right. But yeah, those hugs, each one individually, just at the end, and I thought, okay, now they're okay. Now I know that they trust me.
And I think they're just now part of the clubhouse of followers that you have, and you have a huge following, especially among the young people. And many young people consider you as a role model. And you have a crazy schedule, but I know that you always try to make time for teenagers and try to encourage them to pursue their dreams, even if it's not exactly what their parents wanted or what society expects from them. I hear that last summer you worked with teenagers in a music camp as well. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
I had never done a camp, but I grew up doing camps. That's where I learned a lot of my got a lot of my musical education, or music education, I should say. And it was a big part of any young musician's life, was to go to camp during summer. And sometimes you spent all 3 months going to different camps. And somehow I know that they did camps here, but it would be like 3 days or 5 days. It was very short and not as intensive. And I had never heard of a musical camp, so I thought, well, maybe we could do that. And I had run an academy for quite a while, and I thought, why don't we do a musical camp and see how it works out? We didn't get a lot of people that came in, but when they left, I think they were quite happy about what had happened to them. We worked very intensely all day on different aspects of musical training, and at the end, they all performed, and they really grew in 5 days, I think, 4 or 5 days.
It was a 5-day camp?
It was short, because Korea, their schedules are different, and so I think we're going to do that again this summer.
Were they university students?
No, they were high school and junior high.
And I know that you always encourage young people to follow their passion and follow their dream. And as a teenager, I know that you had many, many dreams as well. But the process of realizing your dream isn't always easy, of course. And I know that you've also had your share of disappointments and also setbacks as well. Is there a sort of a mind control technique or something that you always fall back on when things don't go your way, so that you don't give up on your dream, that you continue to push forward, that you can share with teenagers or young people?
It's a very harsh, I think, rule that I end up using. It is very, very harsh, and I've realized that I thought I didn't have one of those rules. I thought that I've usually, followed the river and just went with the flow, and somehow I ended up here by other beings. But I realized recently, I think, it's the first time I realized that when things get really, really tough, and I go home and it's like, I am not going to do that anymore. I don't want to work with them anymore. But some DNA in me pulls me to say, can you die knowing that you didn't try your hardest to the end? And it's a very, very harsh rule, because it drains you, and you just it really drains you, and you can, go to the edge with that. But somehow I end up doing that. Almost to my detriment, I don't try to not give up. I just end up not giving up. And it is very difficult to push yourself through all that, just hell. But I think it made me stronger, made me learn how to go through, figure out puzzles easier the next time by going through all of that.
Maybe it's that quality, but it's the fact that the word first has been attached to many of Kolleen Park's projects. And another one, kaboom, is no exception. And kaboom is for the whole family, not just for adult women. Let's take a look. Kolleen Park has another non-verbal variety show called Kaboom. The whole team is on stage for the final rehearsal. They were all brought together on one stage by Kolleen Park.
컬린 선생님께서 이제 코리아가 탤런트에서 만난 인연으로 그 카붐의 공연 저희 이제 섭외해 주셔서 이렇게 무대에 서게 됐습니다.
열정적이시고 또 되게 인자하시고 또 되게 그 부드러우신 되게 성품을 지니신 것 같은데 또 그 부드러움 안에 되게 강렬함도 저희가 느꼈던 것 같아요.
Kaboom is the sound of a loud explosion. Kolleen Park chose the title to represent the explosive energy of Korea's young artists. The show's performers are already the best at what they do, but Park personally cast, planned, and directed the show so that she could bring out their synergistic energy.
처음서부터 끝까지 이제 동작도 잡아주시고 감정선이라든가 그런 걸 굉장히 자세하게 설명을 해주셔가지고요. 처음에는 굉장히 무서운 분이라고 생각했는데 굉장히 자상하셔서 놀랍고 아 이래서 박칼린 선생님이구나 하는 걸 좀 많이 느꼈습니다.
This is the kind of show that women and men of all ages can enjoy. As the show's about to start, you can see that the audience is full of families.
엄마들 사이에서 많이들 보러 오시더라고요. 저희 동네 카페에서도 지금 되게 유명하거든요. 갔다 오면 블로그 사이에서도 이렇게 올라오고 있더라고요. 그래서 지금 같이 보러 왔어요.
아이들은 레이저 쇼를 좀 기대하고 왔거든요. 그리고 이제 저랑 신랑 같은 경우에는 비보이도 이제 좀 재밌을 것 같아서 이렇게 왔어요.
Kaboom is a variety show with performances from b-boys, magicians, and more. It includes fusion traditional music and even a laser show. Each group performs separately, but they also work with one another on new collaborations.
다른 분야와 접목을 해서 하나된 모습으로 콜라보레이션을 할 수 있는 공연은 다른 데서는 볼 수 없다고 저는 생각하거든요. 그런 부분들이 관객분들도 좋아해 주시고 또 다양한 장르를 한 번에 볼 수 있는 게 굉장히 장점인 것 같아요.
Kolleen Park relishes the chance to experiment with traditional formats in her shows, and she always enjoys a good challenge. It's one way she stays one step ahead of everyone else. We look forward to her next move. I'm here with Kolleen Park, director of Mr. Show, and also Kaboom, the first variety show for the whole family. Now, Kolleen, you have a lot of performers in Kaboom, and I hear that they're at the top of their field, but you have very diverse performers in this show. Wasn't it difficult to get them to work together? Did you have a lot of difficulties, or was it kind of, clockwork at the very beginning?
I think creating Kaboom was one of those moments where I hit my limit on that scale. And just because they don't come from what we call long-running shows like musicals where you have a complete system and everything runs on clockwork. They all come from their own kind of event performers. So they had their own identity and they were very strong about their identity and they didn't want to collaborate with each other. But I didn't want just a show of a bunch of different event performers. I wanted to do something new. But our b-boy team was at the top of their game in the world, ranking #1. The PID laser team are pretty incredible. They create all their own machinery to perform. And like Vavavoom, the Korean fusion girls, I picked them up from like Korea Got Talent, and we created new music for them, repackaged them to do performance with hologram videos and new music. I changed their the way they looked. And then magic is always very difficult because everyone in the world already knows how magic works. It's somehow seeped out, all the secrets, right? So it's very hard to impress people with magic, but I wanted to put a story to it. It still needs a lot of upgrade and a lot of work, but I wanted to portray the backstreet performers as another kind of a performance genre in Korea. And I wanted different varieties to come together, and it was very difficult because it costs so much. Because whereas like a non-verbal performance, like some of the shows that we know, Nanta and Jump, you use 5 performers and they perform for 1 hour. We've got 15 performers.
Oh, yes.
So it's like already triple.
Yeah,
the costs are a lot more than what we normally would expect. But I didn't want a single thing to be going on for an hour, different from like Mr. Show. I just wanted a platform where these people who are performing in the back alleys, what I call the back alleys, the back streets, performing somewhere else, not having their own stage, just
kind of
going
exciting,
to, just put them together, a new, young backstreet performer generation. That's all I wanted to do, to see how it would go. And I think the show goes by so fast that I thought it would be for adults. But for some reason, it became a whole family show.
And the magic helps for children, I think.
Well, they're amazed by like how the hologram is. You see this and you see 3D, but you also see performers in the middle performing. And so the kids are like, wow, what is this? And the adults are not bored by watching what they think is a kid's show.
That's the problem usually with the family shows, right? Yeah.
So somehow we hit a chord that we didn't really want to hit, but it worked out much better. But we are upgrading it soon, and it'll probably travel to Jeju as well while we keep the show in Jongno going on.
Good. Okay. And another one of your many projects, of course, is the Asian Para Games.
Yes.
That's going to be taking place in Incheon this October. You're the executive director of the opening and closing ceremonies. And I know you can't reveal all your secrets or all the details, but is there something that we should look forward to, especially?
Well, I think the concept that we have for this Para Games is that I didn't want to. I know that the athletes are the star of the games, but in Para Games, it's unlike all the coaches and all the staff that you have for the regular games. You've got an element of the handicapped, which I wanted to focus on. I wanted to portray or bring into the light or show the different stars instead of the athletes, the one who was able to create the wheelchair, the person who invented the titanium lightweight, legs, so that these athletes could do what they are doing. And so I wanted to bring them into the forelight. So our story of the opening ceremonies focuses around the experience of how seeing nothing, hearing nothing, not being able to move. But of course, yes, humans persevere and they overcome through creativity. So it's like mother of all inventions, right? Necessity is. So the mother who poured her love into her child who was born without legs and arms and became a famous painter. The people behind the scenes who brought these athletes to their stardom today. So I think our story will be quite interesting, and that's my story.
And it sounds like another first for any sort of opening ceremony, I think.
Well, I understand that no one has ever done it, and I did my research and I knew that no one had done it, but I completely was drawn to these people who, we have an Incheon inventor in the 1920s or the turn of the century who invented the Korean Braille. that was used at one time by all of China, Japan, and Korea.
Really?
Now it has separated, but he was an Incheon person. So I wanted to focus on people like that who made a path for these athletes to be where they are today. So.
They're also the unsung heroes,
Yes,
aren't they? Yeah, so.
absolutely.
I hope that you will not burn out.
Oh.
I mean, I think that's probably one of the major concerns that people have who know you and know your crazy schedule. And so thank you for taking time out of that schedule to join us here again.
Thank you. It's always so wonderful talking to you. It keeps this peace and calmness to me. So thank you very much.
No, so best of luck on all of your projects, and do join us again, probably next year for sure. Yeah?
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that was our conversation with Kolleen Park, director of Mr. Show and Kaboom. Thanks as always for joining us on Heart to Heart. See you again next time. Bye-bye.